It's that time. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight for this very special event. For those of you who I may not have had a chance to meet yet, my name is Sarah Kermy, and I am the Executive Director of States Win. And I am also a very proud mom myself of two young daughters. And I'm really excited to be here with you tonight to celebrate the seven candidates we have with us and the power of moms and their leadership. To share just a little bit about myself, I took a little bit of a different journey to parenthood than most. I am a solo mom, and so I had my two girls via IVF with a donor. And I'm very open about that because I'm really proud to show a loving family that maybe has a little bit of more of a unique structure than most. And I'm also very, very thankful for the opportunity to be a mom and at the same time to get to do this work that I love so much. And the reality of that for me is that I only was able to become a mom and can only balance this work that I do because I am very privileged. I was able to take out a loan to afford IVF because my health care did not pay for it. I have had jobs with healthcare benefits that covered my prenatal care, both my stays in the hospital, a 2 week NICU stay for my second daughter, and paid family leave after each of them were born. And I've had health benefits that have that covered my leave, and I've had my mom who provided free childcare during the day for my 8-month-old, and who helps me on nights and weekends when additional job responsibility comes up. And I've also had access to sex education and birth control that have allowed me to decide when I was ready to pursue motherhood. But I know there are a lot of people who are not as fortunate as I am and who have not had these benefits. And that's where state legislatures and our work at States Win comes in. Because thanks to Democratic trifectas and the advocacy of moms across the country, we have seen states like Maine pass legislation to cover IVF. Colorado passed legislation to provide additional paid leave for parents who have NICU babies, and that was just recently. New Mexico passed legislation to provide universal, no cost childcare. And Washington State passed legislation to require comprehensive, medically accurate sex education. And of course, there are additional examples that I won't take the time to list, but yet there are not nearly enough to provide the support that families so desperately need in this moment. And that is the power that state legislatures have, and why we at States Win work to elect candidates who build durable democratic power in chambers all across the country, and why we support folks who bring critical lived experience and diverse perspectives to the table. And I'm so thrilled that tonight you're going to get to hear from these seven amazing candidates. We are in a moment when we need their leadership, their grit, their tenacity, and their voices more than ever. And we are in election cycle when we have a better opportunity than ever before to put them in the halls of power that can transform the landscape for working parents. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Christy with Vote Mama, our amazing partner in this event, to talk about their awesome work.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sarah. Well, and Sarah and I go way back. We've been in this fight for a long time, starting on a meeting on a campaign back in 2010. So it's wonderful to see you. And it's wonderful to partner with States Win and support so many amazing Democratic moms running for office all across the country. So I'm Christy Pagan. I'm the political director here with Vote Mama. We support Democratic moms of minors or those who are pregnant or the full-time caregiver of adult children with disabilities, and those who support our progressive candidate pledge. We are actively seeking candidates to support this election cycle. We have made over 100 endorsements so far, and I feel like we're just getting started. We deeply value state legislative candidates. We believe you all are on the front lines in this fight and will be the key to Democratic victories all across the country. I'm a former state legislator myself, having served 6 years in the Michigan State House and gave birth to twins during my last year in office. And so I know what it's like to be out there and campaigning hard, raising the resources you need to win, and relying on the Moms Network to support us when we need it most. So I'm thrilled to partner with States Win and to support candidates all across the country, and some on this call we've endorsed and hoping to endorse a few more. In addition to providing candidate support through endorsements, financial support, coaching, mentorship, campaign guidance, and the Mamas Network, we also are leading the effort to pass campaign funds for childcare in all 50 states to allow candidates to use the campaign funds they raise on childcare to make one less barrier uh, accessible to moms running for office. In addition, we're using that same model and replicating it across the country to pass campaign funds for security because we know that security and safety is a real issue that candidates face on the campaign trail and in elected office. And moms and families especially feel that. And so we want to also make that an available resource to candidates. So with that, please reach out if you are running for office, interested in running for office, and a Democratic mom who meets our criteria. We are happy to talk and provide support in addition to our efforts on the policy side to support campaign funds for security and campaign funds for childcare. I will pass it to Taylor, but again, thrilled to be here. Please look to Vote Mama as a resource and follow us on Instagram.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Christy.
Thank
Hello,
you.
everybody. I am Taylor Hoagland, our Director of Campaigns here at States Win. I am so thrilled to be spending my evening with you all for Moms Building Majorities here tonight. Tonight is about celebrating something that is both deeply personal and deeply political, the women and especially the moms who are stepping up to lead in their communities at one of the most consequential moments for our democracy. We're going to hear directly from an incredible slate of candidates and leaders from across the country and why they're running, what's at stake in their states, and how motherhood has shaped the way that they lead and serve. I am so excited to introduce them all to you tonight because these are exactly the kinds of leaders that our state legislatures need more than ever right now. So I can't wait to jump in. First, we're going to introduce Dr. Amelia Galatano, who is running in Arizona's second legislative district for the Senate. Amelia, would love for you to tell us why you're running and how being a mom has influenced your leadership.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation. I apologize. I'm outside. I'm traveling at the moment. So I hope the sound is okay. So I am a professor, a doctor, a neuroscientist, and a mom of two now young men. I am running for Arizona State Senate because everything has become unaffordable, it seems like. And my two children, who are now 27 and 24, tell me they don't think they'll ever be able to buy a home. I am worried about, in addition, healthcare as a physician and as, having been a patient myself. That healthcare is one of the biggest concerns of all Americans. And even my young men children, one of them, thank goodness he had his own healthcare because he had an unexpected emergency that required 3 surgeries in December. And he is an extremely healthy person. So that matters to all of us. And I'm very concerned personally about the climate. And to be honest, that is my reason for running because I want this planet to be livable for my children and for all of your children and for everybody's children and frankly, all the generations that are coming after them. We, in my generation, have left them with a bad deal. And I want to step up and see what I can do to give this last phase of my career to make them have the opportunities that I have been able to have. Being able to dive into science and study that has been such a privilege all my life. Being able to be a doctor and care for patients, you are invited to participate in people's most difficult moments in their lives. I see young people, I train them. And that's been my career, is educating the next generation of doctors and young scientists. And they're terrified about the future, about funding for their ability to perform, to do science, about being able to practice evidence-based medicine. And then I have the kids, I call them kids, they're not my first campaign staffer is my son's best friend from when they were in third grade, Kyle. They are both, my son and Kyle are both now 27. And they tell me that their friends aren't able to get jobs when they graduate from college. They are, Kyle has decided that sorry to be negative, that he's not going to make it through what he anticipates are going to be devastating climate-related violence in the future. These young people are the reason that I am running, so that we can make the changes we need to make to give them the same opportunities that we have all been so privileged to have over the last couple of decades. Just to tell you a little bit more about myself, I have spent my career training and raising two young men that I'm incredibly proud of. However, it's not been easy. As you all know, being a mom is our biggest, most challenging job, right? But when I moved here to Arizona to start the University of Arizona College of Medicine in Phoenix, it was a brand new medical school training new young doctors. At the time, I was still undergoing treatments for breast cancer, which was diagnosed when I was 41, and immediately needed to file for divorce after I got here. Very difficult times. It was not the future that I had seen for myself or my children. And then starting a career as a professor on the tenure track, which is also very difficult. So I understand the challenges that many people have to go through. In many ways, I've been incredibly privileged, incredibly privileged. I'm so grateful for that. But, you know, I also understand some of the struggles that many people have to deal with, and they have to deal with so much more than I do. So I'm very passionate about trying to help in any way I can. And the best way I have been convinced by my colleagues and my mentors in politics is to enact these changes that I think we need for the survival of our planet, for my children and your children and all the children. We have to change policy. And we can't change policy here in Arizona unless we can flip our legislature. And that's why I'm running. So thank you so much for inviting me. I've been incredibly grateful to States Win, and I wish you all the best, and all of you candidates who are going to be endorsed. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Amelia, for joining us this evening. Now we're moving over to Georgia, so I can introduce you to Michelle Schreiner, who is running for Georgia's 45th House District. Michelle, would love for you to tell us who you are, what brought you to this race, and then talk about the demands of running a campaign and raising a family, and what that balance has taught you about resilience.
Thank you, Taylor and Dr. Amelia. My heart goes out to you, and I feel your strength. I feel your power, and it is about resilience and what we prefer, how we prefer to live our lives today, and what we want to leave for that next generation, our families and our communities. And we're not here to sit back. And we're not here to wallow in the pain. It's about alchemy. And it's how you take what are perceived to be challenges and alchemize it in a way that can bring positivity. And I'm talking about real change, who we want to be, how we want to show up, and how we want to see that manifest in our communities. And so I'm in the same situation as you, Dr. Amelia. I am also here to flip a seat in Georgia. This is a very exciting time, a great moment in time. We're at this inflection point. And like you, I am not really able to sit back and just watch it. And I, as a psychologist, can understand the need for mental health and the need for at times pivoting and just saying, I'm going to have to not focus on the madness that is the current climate. Um, and regroup and I get centered on a few things for myself. So yes, I'm a mother. I have twins who just turned 7 years old last month, girl boy twins. I um resonate so strongly with Christy. You were talking about how you have twins. And so um, and Sarah, you were talking about IVF. I went through 5 rounds of IVF for this to happen. And so you get real clear-eyed in terms of purpose, in terms of mission, and the journey. When you think about resilience, it's not something you buy, it's the ability to navigate through those challenges and still have the clarity and the belief in something much bigger than yourself. So I'm very much in line with universe and mission and wanting things to be better, that pay it forward mentality. And so that wiring has enabled me to raise my hand in an act of service and for me to stay grounded, because not only am I a mother and running a campaign, I work full time. And so it's a juggling act. And so I'm grounded in a few pillars that make it make sense for me. So structure is important. And that's something as a parent, it was a decision. I remember someone telling me like, well, you can choose structure or chaos. And I said, structure, please. So having a schedule makes a lot of sense for me and my family. Also, I will share that discipline is very important to me. And so and it has it can look and feel somewhat differently, but for me what makes sense, I'm an early riser. I exercise every day. I nourish my body, not just with food and not just with exercise but also spirit, and just that mental clarity. And I'm someone who practices gratitude and grace every day, so I recognize it won't be perfect and that's okay. And as I learn, I also create buffers around myself so that it's okay to make those mistakes and still keep moving forward. I'm very mission aligned, and a mistake is only an opportunity to calibrate and keep going. And one thing I said to myself in running for this cycle is that I won't do it alone. And so Stateswin has stepped up to the plate. Other groups are stepping up to the plate. Being here with you reaffirms that conviction that we're in this one together. So coming with a lot of heart, and willing to do the work.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Michelle. And I am so thrilled that we get to do this work together, and really excited just to continue on our path towards November together. Moving on to Iowa, I'm really excited to introduce you all to Molly Buck, who is running again for her House district in 41. Molly, would love for you to introduce yourself and then share how has being a mom shaped your decision to run for office?
Thank you so much, Taylor. I would like to say that I'm honored to be here with all of you people, all of you women, and just hear your stories. And it's so inspiring. Just the two of you that have already spoken. It's wonderful. I want to say that being a mom didn't really like shape my decision to run. It really made the decision for me. So we talk a lot about in politics those kitchen table issues. But for me, those issues have faces, 4 faces, and those are my children. And it wasn't really just like a lightning bolt moment, but like more like a mounting realization. Um, just looking at my kids and then also walking into my classroom and looking at the students that I teach. And I realized that the Iowa that I wanted to hand over to them was just being dismantled piece by piece. I've spent over 30 years in education, and I've seen what happens when we don't invest in our kids, and I've seen what happens when we do invest in our kids. And so the attack on public education that we are currently experiencing in Iowa, I see them really from both sides of the desk. We're asking teachers to do more with less, and they're overwhelmed and undercompensated. So I'm running because I want my children and really all the children in Iowa to have schools that are preparing them to do well, and that teachers are prepared to teach and not just survive. And that really includes also our regent universities, where I feel like we need to ensure that there's a path that is paved with equality and not hurdles. I just also want to say that my own family story is really a snapshot of diverse needs. I have one child on the spectrum who really thrived in vocational education, and she's still scratching and clawing her way through this world. I have one child who's a proud member of the LGBTQ community, and when I see legislation that targets the identity of our students and it threatens funding for specialized programs, it's not just theoretical to me. It affects me. I feel like as well that my child, which I don't think is unusual, my LGBTQ child, also struggled greatly with mental health, and Iowa consistently ranks near the bottom. We're 40 something, and that to me isn't a statistic. It's heartbreaking. It's just heartbreak, and I'm stepping up because I really want to build a state where equity isn't just a buzzword, but it's a lived reality for every family that's trying to navigate neurodiversity and mental health and identity and all those things that not just my kids struggle with, but so many kids struggle with. And so my kids are getting older and they're launching into their new lives, and I look at the landscape of our state, Iowa, and I ask the same questions. Are they ever going to be able to afford a home? Are they going to have to find somewhere else to go? Are they going to find jobs that pay a living wage? And honestly, two of my children are girls. And as a mother of a daughter, I'm running because I refuse to let them grow up in a state where they have fewer reproductive rights than I did. Healthcare access and bodily autonomy to me is a bottom line for freedom. It's a cornerstone of freedom, and it's a cornerstone of having a free and a prosperous life. And I want my kids to stay in Iowa, but I feel like I have to give them a reason to stay, and that's really why I'm running. So here's the truth. So I'm the mother of four, like I said, but I'm also a 30-year teacher, and so honestly, I feel like I'm a mother of thousands. I don't feel like I'm just a mother of four. And every time I see a student struggle because of a lack of resources, I see my own kids. And every time I see a student struggling with identity, I see my own children. And I want the same opportunity for every child in my district, for every child in my state that I want for the ones who call me mom. And so I realized I had to step up, right? I'm sitting around asking who's going to fix this, who's going to fix this, and I suddenly realized the Calvary isn't coming. I'm the Calvary. I have to do this, and I have to step up. So my kids really, they really are why I'm here. And I flipped this seat once, and I'm going to do it again. And I have no doubt of that because I really have the inspiration of my children, my own children, my four behind me, but also the thousands that I've taught that I really want to make Iowa a better place for them.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Molly. I cannot thank you enough. As the mother of a school-age child, how grateful we are to our teachers and our educators and taking those skills and navigating the classroom and then taking them and navigating the Capitol. I just cannot thank you enough for running again. We are going to pass it off to another educator, though. We have Angela Nelson, who is running for Minnesota's 35th Senate District here with us. Angela, would love for you to just chat through what does running for office mean for your kids and what kind of future are you hoping to build for them?
Again, thanks for having me tonight. I just love being around women in leadership. It's super exciting. Yeah, so Ange Nelson, Minnesota, also running in a flippable district. The person that I'm running against has been in office for 25 years since I was in high school, and only won by 186 votes in the last election cycle. So I know that we're going to be able to do this. But I am an elementary school principal. For this is my fourth year in that. I was a high school principal before that, and then I also taught high school. I have two kids of my own. My daughter Lila is 17, and my son Milo is 13. And I'm a divorced, single mom. So sharing time and working out schedules. I hear people talking about that. It's challenging to say the least. But I think much like Molly just said, I have two children who I would literally do anything for in my whole entire life. But I do feel like I also have thousands of children that I'm fighting for, and they all are very similar in the needs that they're facing. So my daughter too struggled a lot with mental health and navigating a system that is, very challenging and disconnected is hard. Working with families as they come in, and seeing how young of a student is when they're working through mental health challenges is very difficult. Here in Minnesota, we actually have had so many amazing rights, and yet I too feel like it is on the verge of being dismantled. We recently had a trifecta, but we're virtually tied. If you know anything about Minnesota politics, in both our House and just a one-person majority in the Senate. And so if we are going to maintain rights for our LGBTQ plus students, for our trans students, if we're going to maintain the level of healthcare that we want and make sure everyone has access to healthcare, and if we want to maintain our amazing public schools that allows students to have choice and voice in what they read and the classes they take, and who they get to be, we really need to make sure that we protect, Democrats in our state, because I think people think of Minnesota often as a very blue state. We are, and we have to fight really hard to make sure we keep all of those things in place. You know, for my daughter, it really hurts me, hurts my heart to think that she is going to grow up in a world, potentially that where she has less rights than I did, growing up. And the idea that we're going backwards in so many ways is just very defeating. It's one of the many reasons I'm running. I'm passionate about making people's lives better, whatever that means. If it means that I'm going to sit down with a family and I'm going to help them fill out assistance because they don't have healthcare and they need that, I'm going to do that. If it means sitting on the couch with my daughter for a month watching Moana because she can't get up, I'm gonna do that. Or if it means that I'm going to dress up in my princess costume from Halloween and go to a community member's birthday party to bring joy, like I'm going to do that. So I'm just like all in for a community. I born and raised here in the city that I live in, and very proud of that. But again, really thinking and knowing that our community is not reflected by our current senator, and it's time that our community is represented by someone who's as passionate about their lives as they are. They just want to live happy, healthy lives, be able to take their kids to a Twins game, Minnesota Twins, pay their rent, buy groceries, buy gas, give their kids some money when they ask for send me money on Apple Pay. I want to be able to do all those things, and I too struggle with doing those things at times. And then lastly, I would say, being a woman in leadership at a high school level and now elementary and now moving into the state level, I know how important it is that there's representation. I want girls to know that they can do whatever it is that they put their mind to. And I'm raising my son to understand and appreciate that I have goals and that we're going to reach them together, and that women are as capable as anyone to do any job and should be respected for that. So I know as a principal, I've had many students come up to me, young girls, like, you're the principal, you could be superintendent, and now like you're going to be a senator. And the idea that, without me doing those things, that it might not be something they think could be a reality for them.
Well, I'm really excited that we get to work to elect you this cycle and show them that it is definitely possible. And with that, we're not only excited to hold our majority in the Minnesota State Senate, but we're also going to gain control of the House this cycle. And we have to do that by electing Tracy, who I'm going to introduce next. Tracy is running for Minnesota's House District 45A. Tracy, would love for you to share who you are and then why it is important to have more moms serving in our state legislatures and how that changes the conversations we're having in those spaces.
Sure. I'm Tracy Braziel, and I am running for District 45A in Minnesota. It's a purple district. There's a two-term Republican incumbent who is currently serving in that seat. And I, like many of you guys, I chose to run. I really felt like I had to because we are not getting the representation we need. We are not getting the voice that many people in our district want, and he's not standing up for the rights of women and the citizens in Minnesota. My background, I started my career in business. I was a psychology econ major in college. I worked in finance. I've worked in other businesses, and for over 2 decades, I've got my master's in business administration. So really approaching politics from the perspective of how do we incorporate some of what businesses use as best practices and bring that into the political realm. I also have served on local government and have been in a number of different community spotlights. Currently, my passion is a couple of organizations that I'm working with that primarily serve underserved women, single women, and their children. So while I have 4 children of my own, they're kind of on the older end of the spectrum. My youngest is 19. I have a 21-year-old daughter and twin sons who are 25. Lots of twins in the call today. But I look at them and I want them to have the future that they deserve. And I want them to want to come back to Minnesota. I look at why it's important to have women in leadership anywhere, and why it's important in particular to have women in the legislature, in our government and legislative bodies, is we all know that who's in the room sets the agenda. And so if we don't have women in the room, if we don't have moms in the room, the issues that are most important to moms they're not getting to the forefront. So, in particular, I think, we all, for moms, we know that reproductive health is critical, and we need to have that be top of mind, regardless of how open-minded a man is. He cannot perceive that in the same way. It is not as personal. It is not visceral to his body. Other issues that I think are, women have a unique perspective on, and we look at that in a different way, is childcare. We have many educators in the room. We all perceive education, I think, differently. As moms, we're educating our children from the time they're born or before they're born, and to know that when they're going off to school, they're getting a quality education and that it's being fully funded and they are being prepared for the future that they're going to live in, which at times is uncertain, but making sure that they're prepared for whatever comes their way. I think the safety of our youth hits women differently. In Minnesota, we had the mass shooting at Annunciation earlier this year. And I think that when I talk to women versus men, yes, the men in the community were affected by this, but many of them weren't as passionate about the need to get guns out of the schools. They would kind of talk a little bit about, oh, well, hunting, blah, blah. Yes, hunting is very different than shooting children. And so getting women into legislature to bring the focus to these issues that are important to women, I think is absolutely critical. And then I think the other thing about moms is, regardless of where somebody is demographically, politically, whatever, if you're a mom, you share something. You can find a common denominator, and it's a shared lived experience that we can communicate with other moms in a way that I think is truly, truly unique. And until I was a mom, I didn't really understand that. But it crosses the generations. If you're a mom, you get it. And I think that coming with being a mom, we develop different skills. We learn how to speak in a different way. We learn how to speak kind of to get our children. A lot of times, I don't know, at least my kids, I couldn't just tell them do this. I had to speak to them about why is it important and what was it that they needed to do and how might they go about doing that in a way that when they did what it was I wanted or they needed to do, they thought it was their own idea. And I think that in terms of coming to compromise or coming to solutions or bringing people to the table to push legislature forward, it's a lot of those same skills that we use in our family, getting families of different personalities, different goals, different wants for the night or the weekend to come together on, maybe it's a smaller issue of what should we eat for dinner, but still it's some of those, it's that same skill and that same model of having a growth mindset and knowing that once we're not always going to know all the answers. We're not going to get there immediately, but we're going to grow as we get there, and that we're doing things for not just for ourselves, but for our children, for the next generation. And that is something that I think is really unique to moms to have that as in their DNA. So that's why I think it's really important for us to get women elected and get more women elected and more moms, where we can become the majority, or at least closer to equal footing, where these critical issues are getting the airtime and the movement that we need them to have.
I love that. And Tracy, that is the perfect segue as we introduce our next, not only candidate, but the Speaker Pro Tem of the Nevada Assembly, Elaine Marzola. Elaine, would love for you to introduce yourself and share what Democrats have been able to deliver on in not only your Democratic majority, but the nation's first female majority legislature.
Thank you so much. Well, first, I just want to say I am incredibly honored to be here in front of these amazing women and just to sit here and hear the stories. I say my story is a little different because I did things backwards. I got pregnant when I was 22, became a single mom at 23 with no college education. So I always say my son gave me purpose. Ended up putting myself through undergrad as a single mom, then decided to go to law school. And so, we packed our car and him and I went all the way to Michigan and attended Thomas Cooley Law School and then came back to Las Vegas. So I always say, he saved my life, gave me purpose. And as some of you have said, once you become a mom, it's like your entire perspective shifts. This will be my fourth time running as an assemblywoman in Assembly District 21 here in Henderson, and I do have part of Las Vegas in Nevada. So incredibly blessed just to be here in this space. And also I'm incredibly proud to be part of the nation's first female majority legislature. As an immigrant, a first-generation college student, and someone who comes from a hardworking family, I understand personally the access to opportunity and what that means. That's why the work we do in Nevada matters to me so much, because they're not just policies that are abstract. We're making huge choices for Nevadans that create opportunities for every Nevadan. Under our Democratic leadership, Nevada made the largest investment in public education in the state history in 2023, delivering nearly $2.6 billion in education funding. That historic investment means more resources in our classrooms, better support to students, stronger investments in early childhood education, and a commitment to recruiting and retaining teachers, to where historically we've lacked a lot. We believe that every children, regardless of their zip code, deserves a quality education and a real chance to succeed. So then we move to healthcare. We continue our fight, just like many of you in your state, fight to expand access and protect our fundamental freedoms. In 2023, we passed legislation like our Assembly Bill 383 toward the Right of Reproductive Health Care Act, which strengthened protections for reproductive health care access in Nevada and expanded contraceptive coverage. We also advanced Senate Joint Resolution 7 to where it enshrined reproductive freedom into our Nevada Constitution, protecting the right to make personal healthcare decisions, including abortion, contraception, fertility treatment, and maternal health care. At a time where reproductive freedoms, like some of you stated before, are under attack across our country, we chose to lead. We made it clear that women, not politicians, should make their own healthcare decisions. And what makes this moment especially just different is everything that we're doing just to protect our women in our state. Nevada's female majority legislation has shown the country that representation matters. When women lead, we bring different life experiences to the table, and that leads to policies that better reflect and support our communities. Nevada Democrats have proven that government can work for people. We've governed with compassion, with purpose, and with the courage to make bold investments in Nevada's future. I'm proud to serve in the legislature that reflects diversity, resilience, and strength to our state. And I'm proud of the progress that we've made together for Nevada families. And, you know, sometimes people don't make room for us at the table, right? We are underrepresented, whether it's in politics or in law. We have to fight to find our space, and we have to make sure that we have a seat at every table so that our voice can be heard. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Assemblywoman. I am just so thrilled that we have you here. Last but not least, we have Brittany Blome, who is running in probably the most consequential primary that will be decided in just 12 days in the state of Pennsylvania. Brittany, would love for you to introduce yourself, talk a little bit more about your primary, and then share when you're talking to voters, do you find that your experience as a mom helps you connect differently or hear concerns in a more personal way?
Yeah, thank you, Taylor, and thanks everyone for being here this evening. So I am Brittany Blome. I am running in District 45 in the State House of Pennsylvania. My race is a little different. Like I am in a primary. The primary election is in 12 days. Currently, Democrats in the Pennsylvania State House hold a one-seat majority, so it's really important that we maintain this seat and hopefully make some gains across the state. So when I decided to enter this race in January, it was because, frankly, I looked at the field at the time, two men on the Democrat side, two men on the Republican side, and I thought, we can do better. And I really, it was one of those moments you look in the mirror and realize like you have to be the change that you wish to see. So particularly for me, looking at the Democratic candidates at the time, one who's still in the race, the current county council president, is an anti-choice Democrat. And as a mother of two young girls, ages 5 and 8, I was like, this man cannot be in charge of making decisions for my daughter for the foreseeable future. So since January, the race has changed in makeup a couple times, and now we're down to me and my opponent, who, as I said, is the current county council president. It's been a wild, like 6 or 7 days, with a mailer last week that was sent out by friends of my opponent that doxed my house. Like all these lies about me, just like crazy things. So the distinction between the two of us is becoming more and more clear. Most recently, yesterday, his campaign, well, the one last week was anonymous, we'll say. The one sent out today or yesterday was directly from his campaign and had transphobic language. And so a lot of the, I'm endorsed by Steel City, Stonewall Democrat, Planned Parenthood, Emily's List, all these great organizations. So there is a lot of blowback to this mailer, as there should be, right? Like this is a Democratic primary. And so again, it is so important that not only do I win this primary, but also then we hold this seat in the fall. So really, coming back to the beginning of all this has all proven my point. Like we deserve better for our kids deserve better. We all deserve better. The state of Pennsylvania deserves better. So that is what I got in this race for, and I need to win. So as far as like when I'm talking to voters, my experience as a mom absolutely is connecting with people. I've had, I would say almost 24 friends, neighbors, random voters have changed party affiliation to be able to participate in this primary, many of whom are moms. Pennsylvania is one of the few states, we still have closed primaries. You got to be Democrat or Republican to be able to vote. And we had a candidate forum a few nights ago, and I received this wonderful message from a woman after who said, hey, Brittany, like I changed parties so I could participate in this election. I knew I wanted to vote for you. I saw you at the forum. My girls were there. I saw your daughters. Thank you so much for what you're, for I get emotional. Thank you so much for, the effort that you and your family are putting in here. And like, I'm the mom of a 3-year-old, and moms are going to save the world. We have to save the world. And that was her words. I was like, yes, that is like the point of this campaign. That is the point. Like, we all deserve so much better. And I think that's been a theme from everyone who's spoken tonight, right? Like, we're sitting here looking at what we're giving our kids and our grandkids and our future, and like, come on, guys, we all know we can do better. So thank you all for the work you're doing, and thank you all for, supporting all of us. Um, yeah, so it's been a wild few days, but I think that moms will save the world. So thank you. And I know they're posting about this phone banking for me. Please, we must win this primary. We can't let this guy win. So thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Brittany. And thank you to all of the candidates and electeds that joined us tonight. I could not be more inspired going into this Mother's Day weekend. So just thank you again for joining us this evening. I'm going to pass it back over to Sarah Kermey, our executive director, to close us out for the evening.
Hello. Yes, thank you. I second that, Taylor. Oh my gosh, thank you all to thank you to all of our amazing candidates for sharing your stories, your inspiring stories, and your visions with us tonight. I know hearing from them only made it more clear why we need to get them elected in November. But I think we also all know that getting them elected takes money, and it takes getting the word out about them to their voters. So if you have not had a chance yet to donate to this amazing slate of candidates, or even if you have and you can dig a little deeper, we would ask that you do that tonight. As Brittany said at the end here, her race is coming up very quickly, but all of these races are extremely crucial and going to be very close. We have opportunities to flip seats, to hold really important seats, build majorities and Democratic trifectas. And so any support you can provide is so appreciated and so helpful in these races. And if you can also sign up for our States Win National Phone Bank, we'll let you know how you can make calls in the very short term, calls for Brittany, and then in the longer term, calls over the next several months for these candidates. Our impact on races at this level of the ballot is truly outsized. And this year, we not only have an opportunity to send these candidates powerful voices to their state capitals, but also to really build Democratic power at, I think you all know this, could not be a more critical and pivotal time in the states. And I will say, I know we've heard from a lot of folks in a lot of swing states here. Along with Christy, we're Michiganders. We know what it means to have a Democratic trifecta. We know what it means to not have Democrats in power, and what that means on a whole host of issues that you've heard from folks about here tonight. And it can make or break the future for our families, for our kids. And that's why we need these moms in these state capitals. Please, if a few dollars makes a difference, a few phone calls makes a difference. So if you can sign up, give a little bit tonight, we so appreciate it. And we so appreciate you taking the time to be at this event and hear these amazing and compelling candidates and their stories. So thank you so much.